We're a visual communications company. We do everything from strategy through to production to do with visual communications, specifically in the global health scene. We have clients ranging from the GHIT Fund down to the WHO and everything in between. And so in the past we've centred mainly on film, motion graphics and animation. But now we're increasingly being asked to do more 360 filming and VR projects and interactive. So we do a full range.
So what kind of projects have you done specifically to communicate things that organisations are doing to improve health or to engage the public with things that they can do to improve their own health? Absolutely.
So one of our key pieces that started us on the road in global health was for the WHO. And that was a piece called Imagine. It was about health workers and the migration of health workers from their country of origin to places like London, for instance, and the problem that caused in their indigenous population. So we did an animation around that and around the public information to do with that, which was very well received, and that in turn got us quite a few projects with people like MMV, the NTDs and the GHIT Fund, and has taken us to the realms of working with Bill Melinda Gates Foundation and also more agencies in the WHO.
And obviously your work with MMV, as you mentioned, was more specifically to support their work to develop new malaria drugs and things like that. And that was more of an internal communications thing and for stakeholders and donors as well, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah. Often organisations such as MMV have a real need to talk to their stakeholders and donors as a specific audience, and in that way certain language and certain ways of communicating are employed for that reason. With MMV, as Jaya spoke about very eloquently in her talk, it was all centred around their tree, which was the design, which was the metaphorical symbol of how their organisation works. And that was a great vehicle with which to use animation to tell the story of what they've done and what they're planning to do.
Okay, so if you were to want to collaborate with organisations in the future, what kind of health organisations would you appeal to get in touch and use you for their communications?
Well, I don't think there's a limit or a specific group as such. I mean, we would love to work with anyone in the global health arena, talking to the public or to internal stakeholders. But what we try to do is get in on projects very early on, because even though we might specialise in things like motion graphics and film, that might not be the best way to communicate. So, talk to us about what you want to do, about maybe your specific audience, if it's specific, if it's more general, then obviously more general, and the sort of things you need to say, and we will come up with the best solution, if you like, for the amount of money that you have to spend. That might not be film, that might not be animation, that might be, for instance, a small piece of 360 filming coupled with a lot of social media to get it out to people. It's very important, that point actually, and it was touched on in the conference, in the talks at the festival, which is, once you've made these things, how do you get people to see them? And often that's an afterthought. So we take all that into account before we start putting pen to paper, so to speak.
That's great. I'm sure that's really useful for people to hear that are thinking about communicating.
I hope so.